Your Honor, I echo the Commonwealth's comments about the staff, the courthouse, Your Honor. This was a textbook, I think, trial that went in very fairly. All parties are certainly beholden to the court, as well as the court staff, to make sure that this is a very emotional case, but nevertheless was tried in a very fair, impartial fashion, for which we certainly appreciate. I know the jury put a lot of work into the case. They were very attentive, as Your Honor is well aware, and the jury has spoken. Whether or not the family of the deceased likes that, it's something that we cannot consider. The jury verdict. How many times do we say jury has spoken, we accept it, we don't agree with it, but we accept it, or we do agree with it? Jury put a lot of work into this case. They returned a verdict of manslaughter. We have things called sentencing guidelines. The reason that we have sentencing guidelines, and I know that you, whether you know it or not, your reputation is that you're, as we say, a guidelines judge. And that means that, as Your Honor, sentencing people, you do factor in, which you should, the sentencing guidelines. We don't, when I say we, I mean the defense bar and prosecute, we don't factor in emotion, we don't factor in facts of an individual case and try to get some type of vengeance or anything like that. We factor in, through the sentencing guidelines, a number of cases, studies, statistics that the Sentencing Guidelines Commission has put together to try, hopefully, and remove from the sentencing factors anger, revenge, excessive punishment, that type of thing, which is all too human. But the sentencing guidelines are something that a judge is able to look at and consider the factors that would guide those people to say, in this case, for example, that the guideline range would be 8 to 10 years. And that's based upon significant study, comparison of other cases, and their recommendation is something that I know is taken seriously by this court. I also understand that the family has a right under the statute to be heard, and they have a right to express their feelings, and nobody can understand the pain that must be suffered by family members when a person is taken from them at a young age, whether or not it's an accident, even worse if it's something like a crime of violence. I understand that. I certainly don't hold that against the people. I do feel that the emotion perhaps has taken sway. They seem to forget the 2 years that they lived together, that Harry provided for those kids. And I know that I had videos of many, many times that they were just out either in the pool, that they're laughing, they're having fun, they're downstairs in that basement room. And he stepped in, and as Your Honor knows, from motions in limine and things that were not allowed, and I'm not going to get into any of that there were a number of factors that he stepped in and tried to help out with Katie in taking care of those children. Suggest that the concept of being re-victimized, as set forth by the sister, I can understand the feeling, and I certainly don't criticize that. I'm sorry for any harm that I may have caused in the course of defending the case. I know that it must be difficult to sit there through a trial and listen to evidence, but nevertheless, that was evidence. When I come in here, I intended fully to get into a lot of factors that would be difficult factors to talk about. I sat with Harry, I spoke with Harry at length. He told me in no uncertain terms that he did not want any commentary whatsoever, disparaging or in any fashion saying anything adverse about Ms. McLean. And I respect that, and I'm taking that position. My request, as Your Honor knows, from the sentencing guideline range that I've requested is an 8 to 10. I would lose credibility, just as the family of the victim would like to see excess of the sentencing guidelines. My people, as it were, can't understand, well, why can't you ask for time served? He's been in jail for 5 years. And I try to explain to people, look, sentencing guidelines mean what that is. 8 to 10 is a reasonable request. I'm going to lose credibility with the court if I was to go in there and say, oh, no, give him credit, give him time served. No, I'm not going to do that. Wouldn't do that. I recommended guideline range, 8 to 10. Under the guidelines, as you're well aware, same thing in federal court, you can go over them. You can have a judgment where you feel that the factors of the case are such that an increase over the guideline sentencing range would be appropriate. The government has addressed that and said because he was married to her for the short period of time they were married, that's a position of trust and there's an abuse of trust, and also that the conduct after the homicide should drive an increase in the sentencing guidelines. And all I'm suggesting to the court is that the conduct after the homicide is exactly that. It's post-homicide conduct. Basically, fight or flight, taking advantage of the fear and trying to, obviously, as he testified, in a panic mode, cover up. But it's not indicative of the time of the incident and the killing. This was a killing that occurred as a result of hot blood, heat of passion. I suggest to the court that the letters that have been submitted to you show the respect that people have, and quite frankly, Your Honor knows that from his background. He has no record whatsoever. I'm not going to belabor the point that Dr. Zeisel has artfully presented to the court as far as his background, being raised behind, as we used to grow up and say, the Iron Curtain, his success in the medical field. Granted, that's wonderful, but it does not actually drive the sentence in this case. What drives the sentence in this case is sentencing the man so that it is, under the sentencing law, a sentence that is not greater than necessary to punish, to deter, and the other factors that were presented in the sentencing memorandum. So I'm asking that the court would consider the 8 to 10 year sentence to the state prison as being a fair and equitable and responsible sentence in this case. I spoke at length with Harry, and he would like, if Your Honor would permit, to exercise his right of allocution and be heard.
He has that right.
Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, Katie. Please forgive me for having reacted in such a way May 15, 2020, that it caused the end of your life. I'm thinking about you every day. I wish I could make it all unhappen. I have been struggling and continue to struggle with the events of that terrible night every single day, and I wish there would be existing a time machine I could go back and change the outcome of that night. But there isn't. So all I can say or do at this time is, I'm sorry, Katie. I'm so sorry. I know we will see each other in the afterlife. And I hope we can make peace with each other, and maybe you will be able to find a way to forgive me. I have been waiting for 5 years to be able to reach out to Katie's children, Sophia, Grace, Sam, as well as to Katie's family, to tell them that how I'm sorry I am about the tragic events during that night, May 14 to May 15, 2020, on my terrible role in Katie's death. Please accept my condolences and apologies, Sophia, Grace, and Sam, for having taken away your mom from you. I can't even imagine the loss and pain I have caused you by my actions. The same is true for the other family members of Katie. I'm truly sorry to have taken away your sister, your daughter, your aunt, or cousin. I know the loss of Katie has caused and continues to cause massive suffering and pain, and I will pray for you all in the hope that time will indeed heal wounds caused by the loss of Katie, and that it will help you to heal, and maybe even to approach the possibility to consider to forgiveness, mostly for your own sake. I also would like to apologize to my own family, particularly to my children and my friends. My terrible actions and the loss of Katie's life have caused them a huge heartache, pain, and suffering. My children and friends felt and continue to feel disappointed and ashamed of me and my role in the death of Katie McLean. I failed them as a father and a role model and complicated their lives very much. I'm very sorry for having you all let down in such an unimaginable way, and I promise to use the time in prison and afterwards to become a better father and man. Your Honor, you don't really know the man you are about to sentence. I'm guilty of a terrible thing. I'm responsible for the death of Kathleen McLean. I want you to know that I'm truly sorry about that. And while you consider punishing me appropriately for my actions during the night of May 14th to 15th in 2020, please also keep in mind that until that day, my life has been devoted to saving lives and not taking them. But that night, I miserably failed, and I'm very, very sorry. Thank you, Your Honor, for allowing me to address the court.